And I was also then caring for Victor. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself. I just didn't want to forget that I also had goals and that I also had a life. What I did is I challenged Victor to meet me halfway. There are almost 6 million military and veteran caregivers across the nation. We have our own journey, and we can fulfill that journey at the same time that we are helping our loved one.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Mario fue pintor más de 30 años. Cuando me dijo que se le estaban olvidando las cosas, fue difícil. Un día me dijeron que pintara el marco del lado por dentro y pinté el lado de afuera.
Yo le di a la gente que le diga a su familia lo que está pasando con él.
Si algo se nota diferente, podría ser Alzheimer. Es momento de hablarlo. Visita alz.org/nuestras historias para saber más. Un mensaje de The Alzheimer's Association y The Ad Council.
Serve Nebraska believes that volunteers are part of what makes Nebraska great. Each year, the Step Forward Awards honors volunteers from across the state who serve their communities in outstanding ways. We hope you'll join us this year at the Step Forward Awards luncheon on October 27th in Omaha. Help us thank volunteers with a celebration to remember. To register, visit serve.nebraska.gov and click Register Now. We hope to see you there. Paid for by Serve Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Hey, it's me, your cell phone. We need to talk about something serious. I know you love me. I know you like using me wherever you are, but I feel like this isn't working out when you're driving. I know you may think that it's possible to focus both on me and the road, but I just don't feel the same way. I think we should spend time away from each other when you're driving. It's for the best.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them? By their clothes, their age, the way they speak? Would you notice a 16-year-old boy who got his first job,
not for extra spending money, but to help feed his little sisters?
Or a mother who's in between jobs and sometimes goes to bed hungry so her kids can have dinner? Or a 14-year-old girl who signs up to every after-school activity, not to make friends, but just to get something to eat? Or a retiree who fell ill and had to choose
between getting medicine or groceries.
I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. People you pass by every day but never knew were hungry. I am hunger in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America, 200 Food Banks Strong, and the Ad Council.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
When you're high, you feel different. You think different, you talk different, you draw different, you listen to music different, but you probably knew that. Problem is, you also drive different, and not in a good way. That's why driving high is illegal everywhere. So if you're high, just don't drive. Make a plan to get a sober ride. Because if you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Finally, a good reason to have a smart house. Just say, Alexa, play 93.7 The Ticket, and we'll magically start playing. How's it work? Nobody knows. Don't ask questions.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. What about those round trips, which are perfect on your way there and perfect on your way back? Or those meetings with friends, surprise parties, camps, birthdays. The same way you plan for the important moments, start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit and make a family communications plan. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Hi, Sean Callahan here of HuskerOnline.com, inviting you to join us here on 93.7 The Ticket
every Saturday morning now in our new time. We're on from 8 to 9 with the weekly Husker Online radio show. We'll give you the latest in recruiting. We'll talk about what's going on with both football, basketball, and we'll probably share a few stories from the inside. It's every Saturday morning right here on 93.7 The Ticket. It's the Husker Online radio show from 8 to 9 a.m.
Live from the heart of Lincoln, America, welcome to Ticket Weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back into Ticket Weeknights. Harrison Arns on the ones and twos, the host of the show, the debut of the show, What's Brewing with Chancellor Brewington, joins me to my left. And this show, not sure what the exact timeline is, but you can expect to see Chancellor Brewington a lot more going forward. And again, if you guys ever want to join the show, start our Heyman text line, 402-464-5685. Streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Allo channel 951. A great way to put a face to the voice. And of course, always feel free to join the show. We got Nebraska basketball on the TV above us, college football playoffs just around the corner. Monday, actually, in fact. But Chancellor Brewington, I'll go ahead and throw it to you. It's been a minute. I think last time I saw you would have been What's the Word? I think was the last time was the name of the show. You had Noah Pola Gates, and who am I missing there? Who was the third one?
Javen Wright.
Yes, he had a nice season in that 3-3-5 first year with Tony White. And,
fantastic.
He'll have more for him going forward. But just give an update for everyone what you've been up to.
Yeah, I mean, first off, I got to say thank you to the 93.7 Ticket, the fam, DP and company. Man, this is spectacular. This is actually really great.
That's right. You remember the dungeon.
Oh my goodness. This is actually like great, you know. But yeah, life's been good. Life's been lifing, as they say, but in all seriousness, you know, battle tested. I think that's the one thing, the common theme of this journey. You know, it's been a crusade. It's been my own fight, you know what I'm saying? But I know a lot of people have been asking, oh, what you doing? You know, started D&D channel, got some traction on there. Been doing good. But really, we're still at this football thing. I'll be playing in USFL, XFL, their merged league. Shout out to them, all the people in company, getting that done. Yeah, but it's been awesome, man. It's been what it's supposed to be. I think that's what's different about my perspective is, you know, some people want it to happen for them and they want it to go their way, but what happens when it doesn't?
Were there any moments where you said it's going how it's supposed to be? Were there any moments at one point in time where you maybe got a little nervous, thinking like, this is not at all where I expect it to be right now?
Oh my gosh, like I think every other day, to be honest, man. I mean, but it's cool because you gain new perspective. You learn about life a little bit more. You know, I'm 24. You might think I might think I know it all, but I really don't at all. You know, and obviously faith has been the number one thing. My stronghold, my anchor has been my God, my rock. When I wanted to sway, I couldn't even sway at times. Was the saying, bend don't break.
Yeah,
bend don't break. But I'm saying this, life is good. Like I'm okay. I'm okay, guys. But but no, but you know, this is, I think a lot of people need to hear real talk because you know, in this life we get social media and it's all highlight tape. You know, I'm gonna post on Instagram when I'm playing football again, and I'm gonna come up with a caption and whatever, and people gonna say, oh, he's playing football again, but they're not gonna know like the whole journey to get back to it, how I ended pro day at 220 and now I'm 238. You know what I'm saying? Like put on 20 pounds in the offseason. Like they're not gonna know the work that I put into it. But God is good and he gets all the glory at the end of the day. So I'm okay with what happened, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, you can also look at it and thank the people who've been with you during this time when, you know, didn't know if you're going to play again, didn't know this. But
who were those people for you that really had your back?
Definitely my mom. My mom's been my rock during this time. My sisters, my family, my friends, Buddha, my guys. You know, and sometimes you just need a You just need you need a friend. Sometimes you need a mom. Sometimes you need a father. Sometimes, so every moment is different, But I think the true rock has been my God, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad what you said about the timeline there, because I think a lot of people get in that trap. It's like, oh man, I'm 24, I'm not doing X, Y, and
Right.
Z, and it's like everyone's on their own race.
Yeah,
Like
no, for real.
especially with those backgrounds that everyone comes from.
Yeah.
Like it's the starting block. You might be a mile behind.
Oh
the
my
guy
goodness.
next to you.
Yeah.
So for you, what were some of those biggest challenges? You're playing for the Huskers, tight end position. I think a lot of people were in favor of your style of play just due to the physicality of
Right.
it. But from Nebraska, what do those next few chapters look like for you, and some of those challenges that you got through?
After Nebraska, it turned into what are you going to play? Because I was this kind of unicorn on the field. I was the smallest guy inside the box. The box meaning where a tight end would line up on opposite sides of the tackle, inside that imaginary box. So inside that box, I was, other than a running back and a quarterback, some quarterbacks even bigger than me. But at the time, and I finished my last Iowa game at 215. Banging with what was the boy named, the backer, Jack Campbell, at 250. You know what I'm saying? Banging with him though. You know what I'm saying? But I think that's where I had to. You got to shift, because I can't play like that at the next level at anything under 235, 230. Because the body will break down. But I'm thankful to put on the weight, but the challenges were keeping the mindset at the right place, keeping the perspective at the right place. Because I go on social media and see all these people in my draft class and they going crazy. You know what I'm saying? Former teammates, and jealousy, envy kicks in. But what you really should be focused on is, okay, what can I do today that will further and benefit me further down the road to where I want to be? So that's the motto. What's important now? That's WIN, the acronym for WIN. What's important now? So staying true to that. And even today, even when it works out, still having this perspective, because man, I think this is what life about: learning, never taking the L. The L's are always learning.
Yeah, that's a lot of it. It just feels like, especially we talked about before, just being everyone on their own track. But yeah, you got to have that patience, because even when everything's going right, it seems when the next worst thing's around the corner.
Yeah.
It's just always something around the corner. So to keep your head up consistently, I always think that's the biggest challenge. You kind of talked about God. Is that what you think helped you out a lot of it? Just keeping that level head, just bringing it back to your religion and family?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Man, my not to get too churchy, but this is all I know at the end of the day. This is crazy. People.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyone who's out there driving on O Street 1040,
be safe.
It must be. I don't know if was it slick.
Yeah, it was a little slick. I was in the crib. I just got done working out, and then I seen it was a little snowy when I went to go get some food. So
yeah, drive safe. If everyone's listening out there, drive safe. So Starter Heyman text line 402-464-5685. Probably don't text if you're driving, but if you have a stoplight, be sure to send it through. We do got a texter off of YouTube said, got to get Buddha on the show sometime. 100%. I think he'd be a great revisit to bring back on here.
100.
But obviously, I'm sure you've probably been keeping up with the Husker football team to see how they're doing under Matt Rule. What are just kind of your initial thoughts, year one under Matt Rule, Tony White's defense, Satterfield's offense?
Be careful. Oh no, but I think Rule is doing a great job, just from the guys I've talked to, and I'm actually training with currently a lot of former guys, a lot of current guys, a lot of guys that were on the team last year. But the things I'm hearing is one person said, I won't say their name, but I felt respected.
That's big.
I felt respected. Like, okay, what does that mean? Oh man, they respected the way I worked. They respected the way I played. They didn't anoint guys that weren't deserving. So I think that's a big thing. That comes down to culture. And a lot of times, I think the Texas coach said it, or some big coach said it this weekend, that culture beats talent. Obviously you got variables. I mean, if you put Derrick Henry out there versus, a youth football team,
he's gonna go to work.
Probably gonna run.
You put him up there against Georgia, he's still putting in work.
Yeah. So there's unique cases, but for the basis of college football, if the variables are kind of the same, then the culture does change. I mean, culture does beat talent. But from what I was hearing, I was just hearing a lot of positivity, a lot of encouraging words. Not to say it wasn't hard. I think that's what we were just talking about, though. If it's not hard, it won't. You're not gonna grow from it. So I can see growth on guys too. I think that's something that's not talked about. Is you don't see a guy. You play with a guy. I play with a guy in the 22 season, and then I see him. It's 2024. I see him now, and all of a sudden, there's a different maturity to him. There's a different respect level or confidence. So he's seeing guys progress. I think that's the most encouraging thing. And shout out to the staff. But I mean, talking X's and O's, which I love to talk. But it was fun to watch the defense, first of all.
Yeah, first year too.
Yeah.
And that defense, and we kind of mentioned a few times already, but it fits a guy like Javen Wright really well, because you can kind of be that tweener and thrive in a system like that.
Yeah, I can. And what was awesome is just all the different ways they were lining up, all the different simulated pressures, 5 down, 3 down, 4 down even. It was just awesome to see all the different ways they can disguise things, because as an offense, it's kind of hard to game plan for that. It's kind of hard. They're 3rd down, but all of a sudden last week they kind of showed this. They showed this 5 down pressure where they kind of played they backed off their outside backers. Okay, cool. But now this week they playing even front. Like what? Wait, what? And then you're like, oh my goodness. But it's just kind of hard to scheme for it, and especially in the run game. Running inside zone, running counter, running gap scheme, running wide zone. It's just kind of hard to get up to the next level on a lot of things. And then you put Nash in the middle of it, and now we're talking about a new beast, because guess what? The center it occupies the center. So in pass pro, it occupies the center. Now the center's held up.
Yeah, and he's going to call for help, and he's like, "I got Ty Robinson. You're on your own."
Yeah. Or they're in a 30 front, 50 front, and they send this, or they're in a 30 front, and they bring a Will, or they bring the Sam, or they bring someone else, and it kind of becomes a one-on-one with the zero in the center. So that's enough football talk. But there's a lot of things that they do. But the offense, obviously,
it's hard to judge them too hard just based off the injuries alone. I thought they fought through as much as they could,
right,
and at times they looked dysfunctional. But I think when you have a bunch of young players in there being forced to start that really haven't had a whole lot of off-season work together as that cohesive unit,
right,
I kind of expected it to look dysfunctional at times. So that's the hard one I have. I have a hard time grading the offense. Like, injuries are a part of the game, but it felt like a lot of injuries. And then you have Lloyd and Malachi Coleman. Shout out to those guys. They stepped up, but
right,
Purdy, he came back. He wasn't fully healthy. Harburg learning quarterback on the job. Jeff Sims, I just think that's unfortunate. I think it's mental. I know he transferred out. Hopefully he does well at his next stop.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, looking at that offense, I mean, I'll let you start and just your overall thoughts.
I thought, first of all, the positive, you got to throw out the positive first. I thought the O-line play was levels up from the year before. I just thought that probably it also slims down to Coach Raiola, communication, detailed assignment, knowing where to go, first of all, and playing with confidence, playing with speed. So shout out to those guys. Shout out to Bryce, and all those. Nuri played great. So a lot of pieces played good on the O-line. And then you go to receivers. Probably would been a different story if Isaiah was there. If Marcus was there.
Washington would have been big, yeah.
If Billy was healthy the whole year, if then you go to running back. You got Gabe out. Who else was out?
Gabe Irvin got out. Johnson was hurt, and then obviously it ended up being Emmett Johnson, 4th string. We're missing one running back
Who's
here.
2? My goodness, this is my former teammate. I'm sorry. It was AG. Yes.
Yep. 402-464-5685.
Not AJ.
I'm not gonna look it up. We know.
We can get this. It's not AJ Allen. He transferred
out.
He went crazy at Miami too. Shout out him. Gabe. This is
Gabe
bad.
Irvin. Was Johnson?
Was it Emmett?
Ramir?
Yes. Dallas. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, Dallas. That's actually my dog too. So shout out Dollars. He's coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Shout out Dollars. It was funny because when Coach Rule, he had said something. He was like, I don't know if Dollars gonna come back. I hit some guys on the team. I said, wait, why wouldn't Dollars come back? And they was like, nah, Dollars coming back. I'm like, okay, cool. Okay, cool. I was tripping, but I'm like, Dollars is a special guy because you can really have him in first down, second down, third down. He can do pass pro. He can run routes out of the backfield. He can hit inside zone. He can run counter. He can run power. He can run pimpo. He can run anything you want for real.
He's a bit of a lightning in the bottle.
Oh my goodness.
He's shown that quite a few times where he's been a spark. And you talked about his pass protection. That's one thing I thought was a little questionable at times for the backs. Part of it, I think, you're just getting down to your 4th-string quarterback. Right. That's probably one of the harder things to learn. It's something Matt Rule talked about. He's like, protections are number one. Yeah. And you're gonna have to be good at that if you want to play back here. Mm-hmm. But Emmett Johnson, he did really good. But yeah, Ramir Johnson, despite not being the biggest running back, he was really good on pass protection. Yeah. You didn't ever have to worry about him back there.
Yeah, and you got to realize he's a seasoned vet. I mean, I want to say he's played in 2020 season, 2021 season, 2022 season.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a little bit of this past year. So, he's a seasoned guy. There's not a lot of guys that can say, oh, I played 4 years of meaningful college football. Like, I played in key moments. I caught a touchdown versus Michigan. I had key pivotal runs in Iowa. There's not a lot of guys that can say that for each year they played college football. So shout out to Ramir Johnson. He's going to be doing big things coming up. But yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to him and the rest of the Huskers. It's just an offense that had a lot of injuries, where that's why it's always hard for me to grade him, because I think to grade Satterfield, I'll be honest, I don't know what his play sheet looked like at times, just based on, am I comfortable having these players who are really just getting their first game time reps, running this formation that we only got a couple reps in at practice? Right. Like, that's just a limited play calling sheet, I think, for Satterfield. But in year 2, hopefully you get some guys healthy. Obviously, you move the needle with 2 Elite 11 quarterbacks, Daniel Kalen and Dylan Raiola. How much does that move the needle for you to get not just one, but you got 2 Elite 11 QBs? I don't want to leave out Daniel Kalen because I think he's huge in that too.
He was Elite 11. What does that mean?
So all the quarterbacks, in the nation, right, they go through before their commitment period, they go through this competition through the recruiting process, and it winds down. It's called the quote unquote Elite 11.
Okay.
On those, they keep those quarterbacks there to continue scouting them to see their potential. So if you make it to the Elite 11, you're the best top 11 quarterbacks in that draft class across the nation.
Okay. So both of them were in that.
Yep.
At the same time.
Yep, and Daniel Kalen being a Nebraska kid, and I think it caught a lot of people's eyes. Like,
okay, so let me ask you this, because I don't keep up with this kind of type of stuff. Who was committed first?
So this is good conversation. So Daniel Kalen and Dylan Raiola, these guys have been in recruitment talks. You can go back as far as you want to since 2021. So 2021, they were with the recruit visits with Scott Frost. It gets to a point where Dylan Raiola, I'm sure you remember the first time he was interested visiting Nebraska. People were really positive. It seemed like he would end up at Nebraska. Daniel Kalen, I think he really wanted to play. Seeing the Dylan Raiola news, he commits to Missouri. And then upon that news...
Wait, the Kalen guy commits to Missouri?
Yes.
Okay, keep going.
And then after that news, so Dylan Raiola, he turns out that he commits to Georgia. So now
I remember that.
Yep. So now Daniel Kalen sees that immediately, less than 24 hours, he's committed to Nebraska.
Flips.
Okay. And then
Dylan this is probably 2022 then, or 2023.
This was this whole off season.
Okay.
As we're building up to it. So this all happened, like the whole recruiting process, 2021 is really when it started. But this has been going on really in this last and really heated up because...
My goodness.
Yes. So Kalen, Missouri, he sees Dylan Raiola interested at Nebraska, seems certain.
Okay.
So he commits. But then all of a sudden it's not. He commits to Georgia. Kalen comes back to Nebraska. Dylan Raiola decommits from Georgia, looks back to Nebraska. Kalen sees he doesn't decommit, but he's going to take a visit to Michigan State, decides to cancel, and we got them both. So it's a whirlwind between those two quarterbacks. And you can kind of see why, right? Because they're both elite guys that could start. I mean, Daniel Kalen could have started at a Power 5 SEC school. Dylan Raiola can start probably wherever he wants to. He's the number 1 quarterback in the country.
So they got 2 Elite 11
out of the 24 class. And then obviously Harburg's still there and Purdy hit the portal.
So his name is Daniel
Kalen.
Daniel
Nebraska
Kalen is
kid out of Bellevue.
Daniel Kalen is not afraid of competition.
That's what I thought got out of it.
He might be a dog. He might be a dog, and either he crazy or he a dog.
I'm good with either.
I think he a dog.
Mm-hmm.
I think he a dog because
if he's crazy, he's a damn good football player for being crazy.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to see what practice is like.
Well, that's what I was saying. Can you imagine what the spring game is going to be?
Imagine what film's going to be like. Imagine what meetings are going to be like. Who's going to get there first?
Mm-hmm.
Who's gonna go the extra mile? Who's gonna learn it first? Because they're coming in January, huh?
Yeah, I mean,
you got to.
Dylan Rail is already at the game right now as we speak. He's at this Indiana game. And for all those listening, if you're on the road, you don't want to check your phone. Nebraska is currently up with about 15 minutes in the second half, 53-41. But yeah, Dylan Rail, Daniel Kalen, they're both getting work in already.
Oh my gosh.
So that's exciting.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to see. I just want to watch a spring ball practice now. Please, just let me watch one. I just want to see guys compete because just knowing how guys are in this generation, not to say whatever, but who's doing that? Who's doing that? Have you ever seen it?
Honestly, no.
This is
today in the transfer
crazy.
Portal era and with NIL.
Yeah,
it seems like this shouldn't happen.
Why aren't people talking about the Daniel more?
I mean, the tickets
they are
covering them.
Yeah. They are.
Yeah, we've been pretty hyped because I think so. Kyle McCord out of Ohio State, when he was hitting the transfer portal, he was looking at Nebraska. This was the same time that news hits for Dylan Raiola decommitting from Georgia, looking at Nebraska again.
Right.
So with that news, then Kyle McCord's like, you know what, I'm out because if Dylan ends up there, I'm not saying this. This is all just hearsay. This is my assumption, and I get it. He's a true senior. He doesn't have any time to spare. I don't think he wanted to go in a room where he hears Dylan Raiola chants after his first pick. So I think as soon as he got that news, he commits to Syracuse. But yeah, now you got 2 Elite 11 QBs, and Kalen's been open about it. He's not trying to be a backup. So it's going to be a competition. I just hope we can keep them both because I'm a true believer in iron sharpens iron.
You can't.
Not forever.
You can't.
One of them's going to end up probably somewhere else, but I'm knock on wood. With Matt Rule, I'll say this much. He doesn't have a whole lot of people hitting the portal on him.
Well, you can't. I mean, if there are 2 Elite 11 quarterbacks, at some point, one's going to win the job and one's going to take over. Yes, they would have to. One would have to take over eventually.
But we've seen it where guys get hurt and your chance is right around the corner.
Right. So, but one's going to take advantage eventually.
Yes.
And one's going to have to.
One's going to get the start.
And one's going to have to.
Back up.
And then he's going to.
We'll see. With these younger quarterbacks, I always think
I'm talking 2 or 3 years down the line.
Okay,
though.
yeah, that's a different story. Yeah,
I'm not
2 or 3 years.
I'm not talking anytime soon. But I don't know who it's going to be. I've met Raiola, great kid, talented guy. He went to my rival high school in Chandler before he went to Buford. He used to always come to practice talking that mess about the Chandler Hamilton rivalry. But yeah, Raiola family is great. Got to meet his dad, got to meet his obviously I know Donnie, Coach Donnie, fantastic coach. But yeah, that's gonna be fun. I think that's gonna bring the best out of both of them. It's gonna bring some competitive nature to practice, to everything. That's gonna be fun to watch and fun to hear stories about. I'm gonna be asking the guys like, hey,
what's it look like?
Yeah, was it not even what it looked like? I just want to know the stories, the meat of it. I want to know the meat of it, not the outside stuff,
But yeah, plenty of things to be optimistic about going forward, not only for Husker football. We saw it with Husker volleyball. That's a young roster too. I don't expect them to have any down seasons anytime soon. Nebraska soccer had a great season. Nebraska baseball right around the corner. But yeah, it seems like a good year to be a Husker, especially with the way the commit's been hitting for the football team, as well as the debut of What's Brewing with Chancellor Brewington, the host of the show to my left, Harrison on the 1s and 2s. Don't go anywhere. We got 2 more segments left. Talk to you in a little bit.
A lot of work goes into making Nebraska, Nebraska. Keeping it green. Helping it thrive. Making it fun. Everything that goes into caring for our outdoors, from waters to wildlife, plays a big role in making Nebraska home. Learn how we help conserve our state's natural resources at outdoornebraska.org.
Paid for by Nebraska Game and Parks. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
I'm Christy. I used to smoke cigarettes. I had smoker's cough and severe shortness of breath, and I knew I had to quit. Then I tried e-cigarettes, but I just ended up using both. I really didn't start to get better until I quit smoking completely. My tip to you is just cutting down on the number of cigarettes you smoke isn't enough.
Call the Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW, 1-800-784-8669. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Sometimes I just cannot believe all the storms we've gone through here. I can only hope that we'll be able to leave this house to you one day, baby. You're our legacy.
Planning for these disasters will make sure we're safe, and is the best way to protect that legacy.
Protect your legacy. Visit ready.gov/plan for the tools and tips you need to start your emergency preparedness plan today. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Mario fue pintor más de 30 años. Cuando me dijo que se le estaban olvidando las cosas, fue difícil. Un día me dijeron que pintara el marco del lado por dentro y pinté el lado de afuera.
Yo le diría a la gente que le diga a su familia lo que está pasando con él.
Si algo se nota diferente, podría ser Alzheimer. Es momento de hablarlo. Visita alz.org/nuestras historias para saber más. Un mensaje de the Alzheimer's Association y the Ad Council.
There's no better way to spark a child's imagination than to get lost in the adventure of a good book. I'm Jenny Benson, president of NSEA. Working together, parents and teachers can help every child succeed. You can help by reading to your child and let your child read to you. Encourage reading in your home and make it a priority. Make reading fun and a time that you and your child look forward to spending together.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Early break with Sip and Jake.
So he can maybe run a little. So like speed option, those things, all you want to do.
Speed, I can't see him.
It's also,
Uh-oh.
Oh, look what you did. Look what you did. Look at Bill.
Down.
Come on
Just
now.
calm down.
I don't say anything about semicolons or should there be a
Word
parentheses or
Too many commas over there.
Too many
Come on.
run-on sentences. Don't talk about that. It's not my wheelhouse.
Early break with Sip and Jake from 6 to 8 every weekday morning.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. What about those round trips, which are perfect on your way there and perfect on your way back? Or those meetings with friends, surprise parties, camps, birthdays. The same way you plan for the important moments, start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit and make a family communications plan. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them? By their clothes, their age, the way they speak? Would you notice a 16-year-old boy who got his first job?
Not for extra spending money, but to help feed his little sisters?
Or a mother who's in between jobs and sometimes goes to bed hungry so her kids can have dinner? Or a 14-year-old girl who signs up to every after-school activity not to make friends, but just to get something to eat? Or a retiree who fell ill and had to choose
between getting medicine or groceries.
I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. People you pass by every day but never knew were hungry. I am hunger in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America, 200 Food Banks Strong, and the Ad Council.
Okay, kids, Dad's gonna teach you how to dance. First, spread your feet apart. Then, pump your knee, nod your head, shake your hips, and bite your lip ever so slightly. Now, with one hand in the air, point at people with the other hand. I call that the rock star.
Dance like a dad. It's a great way to make a moment with your kids.
Now, make a face like it just smells something bad.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Sometimes I just cannot believe all the storms we've gone through here. I can only hope that we'll be able to leave this house to you one day, baby. You're our legacy.
Planning for these disasters will make sure we're safe, and is the best way to protect that legacy.
Protect your legacy. Visit ready.gov/plan for the tools and tips you need to start your emergency preparedness plan today. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Back to the Ticket weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back in to Ticket Weeknights. This is What's Brewing with Chancellor Brewington. The host, as always, to my left. And again, as the show gets going here, feel free to chime in at any point, as you have been on YouTube. Shout out to Bojack saying D&D Crew, shouting out some of the other platforms there. But again, 402-464-5685, starter Heyman text line. Put a face to the voice through Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Allo Channel 951. Quick score update. Nebraska basketball is currently up as they just hit another three right there. So they're currently up by 11 points, 47-58. Looking good for Nebraska basketball, as they, in my personal opinion, you need to beat Indiana if you want to feel good about any legitimate chance of winning 2 out of these next 3s, because you got a 23 ranked Wisconsin and a Purdue at home, number 1 ranked Purdue right after. So plenty of things in play for Nebraska basketball to catch some momentum. Before we get to Donovan Raiola, I want to ask you a few questions about him, because I think he's been really big for the continued development of this Nebraska offensive line that we talked about. But what's this about a Runza opinion?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
I'm going to assume that you don't like Runza.
Well, it's not even that. It's not that I don't like Runza. I just was confused on why people liked it so much. Yes. Do you like Runza?
Yes.
This is prior to me eating it.
Yeah, I like Runza.
You like Runza?
I think we might.
Where
I think
are you
I know
from?
where you're going.
Where are you from?
Northeast Nebraska.
Okay. So you're from Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever been to West Coast?
Never. No, not West Coast. Not what you would consider California. No.
Okay. Have you ever been to East Coast?
Nashville. No.
Oh,
never.
Goodness. Okay. So the point I was trying to make is that they don't got Runza from where I'm from.
Yeah.
West Coast and East Coast. They don't got that. So it's kind of hard to look at it and be, oh, that's appetizing. That's something I want to eat. A Hot Pocket with cabbage and onions and mushrooms and steak.
I never get, I'm be honest, a little bit picky eater. I think I just get, it might just be the cheeseburger Runza.
Right.
Still got the cabbage, but no onions or mushrooms.
Right. But when I ate it, I said, oh, I understand why people eat this.
Okay.
I didn't say I liked it. I said, I understand why people eat it.
That's not a bad take then.
I actually lied on the video. I said I liked it, but I mean, yeah, the 1,000 people that saw it, I'm sorry. I just tried to please some of the Nebraska folks, because I put out a tweet and it got like 1 million engagements. Like, it was insane. And I was like, this is all for Runza. Like, I could have put out a tweet that said, Michael Jordan sucks, and they wouldn't have really cared. But I talked about Runza and people lost their mind. So that's the Runza take. I don't think it's bad. I understand why people eat it, but I'm just confused. I guess it's just the staple, right?
I think we're in a location where we don't really have any food to point to as like, that's us. You know, we don't get the New Orleans down south food. We don't get the, he talks about out west. We don't get the In-N-Out burger. We don't. We have a few good spots. Like every place in Nebraska, they got a few good spots.
Right.
But like consistently, like a food that represents Nebraska, Runza's probably the closest thing. Like a cabbage, unique burger, Hot Pocket, whatever you want to call it. That's at least like unique. It feels like a hearty Nebraska meal, I guess is how I'd put it.
Right.
I'm really trying to build the case for it right here. I'm trying to say is I don't think we have the most advanced palates. We like good beef because we got good ranch, good cattle out here, and good produce. I think that's just pretty much it. But the Runza's not bad. I'll be honest, I personally go for the chicken tenders, not necessarily the Runza. But we were not here to talk about Runza. But if you want to give your hot takes, 402-464-5685. I want to ask about Donovan Raiola, because when it comes to the Nebraska offensive line, there isn't a group that I honestly at times didn't feel worse for. Just consistently taking a lot of the blame. And I didn't think their play was fantastic, where they didn't deserve it all the time. But I was also in a situation where how many coaches are we going to throw at this group and expect dramatic improvement from, new coach to new coach to new coach? I thought keeping Donovan Raiola in there, get a guy so these people don't have to relearn the new system, and just continue to build that consistency with Donovan Raiola. What was that like for you being under his coaching?
One thing he came from the Bears, so he came from the NFL. We took a lot of their wide zone concepts, a lot of different schematic things that the Bears did, and things that he saw in the league that were successful. And I think one of the things that is big with Coach Raiola is detail. Which every good coach is a detailed coach. My position coach at Nebraska was Coach Beckton, and I respect him, and his coaching was very elite. Why? Because the details. Indy was detailed, fast paced, detailed. So we, as a tight end, I got to work a lot with Coach Raiola, and a lot of the things I picked up and I still keep close to my brain because I will be playing soon. There's still coaching points that he's placed in my head that I still, when I'm playing at the next level, I'm still going to be thinking about hand placement, feet, how to drive the backside knee through, second step down, the terminology. There's a effectiveness to the way he teaches. So shout out to him. He's very detailed. Like I said, I'm gonna keep saying it because he is. And he definitely wants his guys to win, but he wants them to compete as well. During practice, I know it's a lot of O-line on O-line battles in there. In Indy, I'm looking over. I remember looking over during just Indy start of practice, or maybe even pre-practice. You got guys throwing up already. I said, "Oh my goodness." But yeah, he can be hard on you, but at the end of the day, you want a coach to be hard on you because pressure makes diamonds, right?
How much did you have to work with the offensive line? Because I know on that tight end group, you're a little bit of a tweener. You're going to be working on your routes. You're also going to be working with the offensive line. Like, what does that balance look like at the Power 5 D1 level?
Yeah, I didn't experience it anywhere else because I only played tight end at Nebraska, but it's a healthy mix. It's tough because during fall camp is where you want to really get with the offensive line, but you also want to get with the quarterbacks as well. So you want to build a good foundation to where the terminology isn't too far off between rooms. So you don't want to call your C block or your out call something different in the tight end room, and then in the O-line room y'all call it something else. So just making sure everyone's on the same page. And then you add in the running back as well, and pass pro and things like that, making sure the quarterback even knows some of the calls if he's a detailed quarterback and he can handle that. You know what I'm saying? So just making sure the terminology is right. But during practice, there's a lot of times where there's Indy, we'll do joint Indy, where we're working on combo blocks, got a 9 tech bumping them over, just 6 tech bumping them, just like little things like that. And it's cool to see two coaches coach together that are very detailed, like Coach Beckton and Coach Raiola were. So yeah, a lot of different stuff together with the tight ends and the O-line.
And then you mentioned, not always playing the tight end position. What were some of those positions you played, at the high school level, and then eventually to Nebraska? And then how was it adapting to playing tight end, and how long that takes, especially when you're playing in a Big Ten conference that, if you're smaller, they're not going to feel bad about it.
Right. I think from the get-go, I played receiver, of course, and then transferring over, guys are bigger.
Mm-hmm.
This is probably one of the biggest conferences, I would say.
It's between SEC and Big Ten. Well, obviously, especially next year, it's going to be 2 mega conferences, but definitely between the two.
Yeah, I think you can go A or B with SEC and Big Ten. So just knowing the Big Ten is big, the one thing that I prided myself on was being more detailed and knowing where to go. If I know where to go, I can play a little bit faster than the guy in front of me, or the guy I'm trying to get at, or the guy covering me, or just knowing my assignment, and learning the tricks and the trades to college football. So I'm eager to learn the tricks and the trades of pro football. The little gimmies.
Mm-hmm.
The little gimmies. I got the opportunity to go watch my brother-in-law play, Ben Stilley, with the Cardinals, and we got to watch a little film. You know, he played the Rams, and right after the Rams game, I'm watching film with him. I'm watching film, watching the whole game, and I'm just learning. I'm just learning how there's a little trick with the guard. There's a little trick with the hand placement here. There's a little trick. Oh, they do this because of this. So it's always interesting to see the little tricks and little vet moves. We call them vet moves. Little vet moves you can get away with. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
I will say George Kittle, one of the most interesting guys to listen to playing tight end position. Like the amount of pride he takes in tight end position. Like he's like, I can be a part of every play in a big way. And
oh my gosh,
he talked about, how much pride he took in the blocking, especially, I forget what episode it was, but I believe he was on a New Heights. He's come streaming in as a guest. You can probably find it if you look it up on YouTube. But he's just talking about, how big it was to realize, if you really move people at that hip level, you can drive where their entire body wants to go. And I feel like those are some of those tips of the trade that you're talking about. Like if you can find that hip, you can determine exactly where they're going to end up going. Helps when you're Kittle and you got the strength with him. But yeah, definitely a few things to look forward to with Nebraska football. Talking about that tight end position. And speaking of tight ends, Carter Nelson, 5-star out of Ainsworth, 8-man football.
What?
Yeah, 8-man football.
Okay.
5-star. Or excuse me, I just said 5-star. 4-star tight end, but number 1 recruit in the Nebraska class. Phenomenal athlete. He could have flipped anywhere on signing day. Despite playing 8-man football, didn't matter. He's got the size. He's got the speed. The reception numbers he had were just insane. It was pretty clear he was just a few talent pools above what he was playing. But nonetheless, a dominant player that anyone would have probably taken if he decided to flip from Nebraska. And then Fedoni as well. What do you see with the tight end room in Nebraska? I think Fedoni could get a little better on blocking, but I think he was a good, pass catcher.
Yeah. I think Fedoni, people got to realize, man, this is live bullets. This is not practice. This is not. Last time he was in live bullets was high school.
Yeah.
So take that into consideration. He's just gonna get better and better. I know him as a person. He's gonna get better and better. He's gonna work harder. He's gonna study more. He's gonna be more polished as a player. So expect a better version of him. I pray for a healthy spring and healthy fall camp coming up. And then you got Nate Bork. Bork's a special guy. Bork's a special guy. I think he's his demeanor throws people off, but man, he's a dog. He's a sneaky guy. He's a sneaky athletic. He's a sneaky strong. He'll surprise you out there, and he's gonna go out there and learn more and step into that role of being the older guy. And that's what the room needs. They need a leader. They need a leader. They need a guy to hold everyone accountable. And okay, we had 10 MAs this week. We had 13 MAs this week. We had 7 loaves. Man, there should be one loaf, and really there should be 0. But I'm giving 1 for grace.
What's a loaf?
A loaf is, in football terms, it's like if you go half speed.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
So if you go half speed, that's a loaf.
Yeah, you should have 0.
You should have 0. Mm-hmm. It's easier said than done, of course, because you're blocking inside zone. All of a sudden, he throws an RPO and you don't run to the ball. That's a loaf, right? So you can get messy loaves, but you should take pride in having 0. I took pride in having 0 loaves the whole year, 0 loaves. So that's a pride thing, and I think that starts with leadership. So I think that should be a goal for the group, goal for the guys. I'm a little bit more passionate because I know the guys, and I would be on their heads if they ever had a loaf while I was playing with them. But yeah, I'm
excited for it.
Yeah.
I think when you talked about that veteran, and I'll say this about Fedoni real quick, never left.
Yeah.
I gotta tip my hat off for that. It's just brutal. Seems like everything's going against you. We talked about that at the very, very beginning of the show. You're going through those rough periods. He just powered through, persevered, and every single season he tweets something, whether he was hurt or not, that he was doing everything he could to try to get back. And now you had a guy in Carter Nelson, who I think Nebraska might be able to use pretty early on, especially if you can get some of that veteran leadership from some of the guys already in the room. But we do got to go ahead and throw it to our second break here on the Chancellor Brewington Show. Harrison Arns on the 1s and 2s. Host, as always, Chancellor Brewington to my left. Don't go anywhere. One more segment up next.
Sometimes I just cannot believe all the storms we've gone through here. I can only hope that we'll be able to leave this house to you one day, baby. You're our legacy.
Planning for these disasters will make sure we're safe and is the best way to protect that legacy.
Protect your legacy. Visit ready.gov/plan for the tools and tips you need to start your emergency preparedness plan today. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Start your Sundays off right with Jeff and Nicole Essink on Fitness Fanatics. Jeff and Nicole discuss health and wellness, how to achieve fitness goals, and more through the life of gym owners and gym goers. It's Fitness Fanatics from 9 to 11 a.m. on Sundays on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Adoption of teens from foster care is a topic not enough people know about, and we're here to change that. I'm April Dinwiddie, host of the new podcast, Navigating Adoption, presented by Adopt US Kids. Each episode brings you compelling real-life adoption stories told by the families that live them with commentary from experts. Visit adoptuskids.org/podcast or subscribe to Navigating Adoption, presented by Adopt US Kids. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Administration for Children and Families and the Ad Council.
Network Partners in Lincoln reminds us throughout the history of our country, our armed forces have risked their lives to protect our freedom. They and their families have sacrificed so we can live in peace, and not just us, but our children and grandchildren as well. Let's thank our troops and veterans and keep them in our prayers. May our troops be safe, and may God bless America. This tribute from Network Partners in Lincoln, visit routers.com. We live in the land of the free, thanks to the brave.
Letting your children know you believe in them will go a long way toward making their dreams a reality. I'm Jenny Benson, president of the Nebraska State Education Association. It's important to celebrate learning, focus on the positives, reinforce good effort and determination. Children need your encouragement and support. Our public schools want every student to succeed.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. At 4 a.m, my phone rang. They said, "I regret to inform you that your husband was wounded in action." Victor sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. I was doing school full-time, and I was also then caring for Victor. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself. I just didn't want to forget that I also had goals and that I also had a life. What I did is I challenged Victor to meet me halfway. There are almost 6 million military and veteran caregivers across the nation. We have our own journey, and we can fulfill that journey at the same time that we are helping our loved one.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
A lot of work goes into making Nebraska, Nebraska. Keeping it green. Helping it thrive. Making it fun. Everything that goes into caring for our outdoors, from waters to wildlife, plays a big role in making Nebraska home. Learn how we help conserve our state's natural resources at outdoornebraska.org.
Paid for by Nebraska Game and Parks. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Back to the Ticket weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back in. Final segment of the Chancellor Brewington show. What's brewing with Chancellor Brewington? Excuse me. We got a couple more minutes here. If you guys want to join, 402-464-5685. We will have the Nebraska basketball post game as they are currently leading Indiana 69-53 as more fire trucks and ambulances go by. I don't know if the roads are that slick, but again, if anyone's driving out there, I'm just going to recommend to be safe. I'm hoping it's not people slipping on the ice, but I've probably counted at least 6 of them so far going by. So be safe out there if you're driving. And again, feel free to text in the show for any last questions. And Nebraska basketball leading 70-53 as they just got another bucket with about 7 minutes to go in the second half. And it will be Eric Strickland, Jake Bachman on that one. And yes, this will be, I believe, the first post-game show we'll get to have Eric Strickland on. So be sure to stay tuned in for that one. But Chancellor Brewington, to kind of wrap things up here, I want to talk a little bit college football playoffs. It's probably one of the best college football playoffs we've had in a while in terms of competition. Real quick off the bat, I know Florida State got the brakes beat off them by Georgia in their bowl game, 3-63. They had about 20 of their key players not playing for obvious reasons. I think they felt a little bit burnt. But should Florida State have gotten in, even with hindsight being 2020, seeing how they lost to Georgia the way they did, and seeing how Texas, Alabama, Washington, Michigan, all those teams played great.
Yeah, but I mean, proper context, you add that in, and you can't even judge them by that game at all. It's just tough. It's
for the
tough.
Florida State Georgia game, you mean?
Right,
okay,
right.
Yeah, 20 key players not playing.
You can't judge that. Keon Coleman didn't play, did he?
No.
No. Their best player didn't play.
Yeah.
So let's just wipe that game out. But you go 12-0, yes. And how do you have a more perfect season? Now do you judge, okay, you could have scored on this drive, but you didn't, but you punted? Like, how do you judge that? So I think that just goes to the way college football is headed into this Big Ten SEC 2 conference thing.
It's going pro. That's
right.
what it feels like. It's just two it looks like NFC, AFC.
Exactly. So I think that's what it boils down to. And I think, if anything, that's a power play by the NCAA by saying, hey, this is why you should want to join, this program in this setup with this 2 conference thing, because obviously FSU did everything they could have, and it wasn't enough. So it sucks to be them. I think this is an interesting college playoff. Of course, Bama just got beat. Michigan had a good outing. I think that game probably would have went a little. I think Michigan messed up a few times.
Oh, at the beginning of the game, you're like, is this TCU 2.0?
Right. So I think they left a lot of points on the board. I think Bama capitalized on a lot of points early. It probably should have been, closer to 14-0 at halftime instead of the 13-10. But I mean, Michigan played good ball. It was awesome to see Ernest win that, my guy. But other than that,
did Washington text you? Surprise you at all?
The Washington game?
Yeah. I was surprised. I thought Texas, with their physicality, would win, and Washington was more physical. Michael Penix Jr. Throwing it on a dot the entire game long. I know the Heisman Award got handed to Jaden McDaniels, but watching that game, I was like, that should have been Michael Penix Jr.'s award. Like, he was insane.
Yeah, he had a great outing. I think it boils down to the playmakers he has. Obviously he has to make the throws, but the playmakers he has, it's kind of it's a matchup nightmare, and Michigan's gonna have their hands full. Their D coordinator. I hope you're watching film right now, because
Corum's a problem.
Yeah,
Blake Corum's he's a tough guy to stop. Before we get out of here, just because I don't know if we'll have you back for Monday, I think we will, but just in case, for this college football Monday, January 8th, excuse me, is that actually coming up here? Let me double check here. Let me get the date right. Yes, the 8th. So Monday on the 8th, January 8th, college football championship game. You're going to have the number 1 Michigan versus number 2 Washington. You got 2 undefeated teams at 14-0. Both got elite guys, and Blake Corum, probably one, you'd argue one of the best players. I know he's not playing the quarterback, but a running back that good, hard to ignore. And of course, Michael Penix Jr. How do you see this thing shaking out? And if you don't have to give an exact score, but if you think it's going to be close, you feel real strong about one team having the edge over the other.
Yeah, I think the true championship game was probably the Bama-Michigan game. So I'm probably going to say Michigan probably by about 14, around that 2-score difference, 10 to 14 points. I would guess probably around like 31 to 18, 19, 20, somewhere around there. So, I just think Blake Corum, the way the offensive line can run the ball and get pushed, they were successful against Bama, and Bama and Georgia are kind of the teams that it's hardest against. And Washington's a little lighter up front, so they're gonna have their way in the run game. If they don't, then it's gonna be a ball game.
That's kind of the way I see it. To me, it's got to have Michael Penix Jr. just completely puts himself on the map as the best player in college football, and he has that game, or it's going to be what I think is going to happen. Michigan, if they were able to push down Alabama to get their run game going, I don't think they'll have a hard time doing the same thing to Washington. And I don't know, with every single time Alabama got to a 3rd and long, which happened pretty frequently in their game against Michigan, it was a sack just about every other time, or a tackle for loss. The edges for Michigan are insane. That's going to be another challenge for Michael Penix Jr. So that's what I'm saying. If Washington happens to win, I think it has to be that game for Michael Penix Jr. because the clock, Michigan can run the clock on you. They're going to have a great defense. So if you're in a 3rd and long situation, that's going to be tough. You might be seeing ghosts. With that being said, though, we do got to go ahead and get out of here. This has been the debut of What's Brewing with Chancellor Brewington. He'll be back plenty of times here on Ticket Weeknights going forward. But don't go anywhere. We still have the Nebraska basketball postgame show. I might fill for a little bit, but it looks like a clear win as Nebraska's up by 20, 58-78. So plenty of good things to talk about. And Eric Strickland will be joining that as well. Appreciate you guys listening. Talk to you in a little bit.
Thank you.
When you're high, you feel different. You think different, you talk different, you draw different, you listen to music different, but you probably knew that. Problem is, you also drive different, and not in a good way. That's why driving high